have it all. I can have it all.
Hello everybody, this is Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And as you can see, I have a friend today. I have Dr. Pedram, I know I'm going to butcher your name, Shojai, right? Shojai.
It's not a soft J.
Shojai, that's it, sorry. Dr. Pedram Shojai. He is actually the author of The Urban Monk. I'm so excited to talk to him about this book. It actually comes out tomorrow, so it's great timing to have him on the Quantum Success Show. So just let me give you a little bit of an introduction to what I called my family, and we can start talking about your amazing book and how it's going to really help raise the consciousness on the planet, especially in business. So you're a man with many titles. You are the founder of Well.org, editor of Be More magazine, the author of Rise and Shine, the producer and director of the movies Vitality and Origins. He's the host of The Healthy Bridge and the Urban Monk podcast, which are commonly top charts in the iTunes. Dr. Pedram is starring in 2 TV shows coming in 2015 and is working on his next book. Like I said, it's coming out tomorrow, The Urban Monk. His next movie is in pre-production and is featuring some heavy hitters that are changing the world. Pedram is considered one of the most influential people in health and green media. So welcome to the Quantum Success Show. I'm really happy to have you here.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you write this book, and tell me about it? Because I know when we were talking about like what is my show all about, you're like, oh, this is perfect.
So, I spent a lot of time. I was a monk for 4 years. I spent a lot of time traveling in the Himalayas. I spent a lot of time studying with esoteric spiritual masters. And then I decided I was going to come back down to Earth and work here, right? And so I opened up practice in Los Angeles, California, and then quickly realized that a lot of the advice that I was giving people was incredibly impractical, because the lifestyle that I had taken on was one of an ascetic, one who had renounced the world, gone off to be a monk, and it was really easy to have the time to do some of that stuff when you've renounced much of your obligations in life. But try being late to pick up the kids because soccer went over, and your work is too busy right now, and that deadline just crunched you, and you're not sleeping, and then try to feel guilty about not getting yoga, right? And so the reality of life down here in the cities is what ended up becoming my message as I realized I couldn't ask people to run for the hills and had to bring a lot of the wisdom that I kind of gathered from studying with some of the best in the world and building it into the lives of busy people who are trying to just make stuff happen and be what is not an ascetic, is a householder, right, in those traditions, which means we got to hold it down, we got to make money, we got to pay taxes and kind of grow. And so that really led me to understanding conscious business, conscious capitalism, and how we can live in the world and make the world a better place simultaneously. So now I run successful businesses and help millions of people. And I got to say, I now feel like being a monk back in those days was a bit decadent, because it's, and sometimes I miss the quiet and the serenity of being up there. But being down here, I feel like I've done a lot more, and I feel like I could help a lot more people. And that's the message of the Urban Monk, is how to step in to your life here and now and find power, vitality, and abundance so that you can make a difference.
Well, so you just mentioned abundance, and that's one of my favorite words, my favorite energies, my favorite topics, my favorite teachings. So I would love to kind of get your perspective on, when you talk about abundance, what do you mean by abundance? And also, how do you align people? How do you connect people with that relationship with their abundance?
Great. I think that we can stop and drink from infinity in any moment. And abundance is something that happens when we stop time. And abundance is a state of being that comes with vitality flowing through us. And so most of us are just spent. Most of us have no energy left. We're borrowing energy from tomorrow to get through today. And we're not in the flow of things in the universe, and in not being able to position ourselves accordingly, we're constantly desiring abundance, we're desiring money, we're desiring things that we don't have, instead of filling up our tanks and really exuding abundance from the inside out. And so, look, I'm a Qigong guy, right? I come from a tradition of learning how to cultivate energy and get out of the way of the flow of that energy so that you can be in abundance, health, wealth, spirituality. There's no separation there. And so once you step into that flow of abundance, good things happen. And so, I always kind of, say, it's kind of like the old seek thee first the kingdom of heaven and then all things come, is if you look at some of the old wisdom there, just look at being abundant from the inside out, and then everything else starts to really line up. And we could unpack that, and I'm happy to go there if that's the conversation you'd like to have.
I would love to. Absolutely. It's, like I said, it's my favorite topic. I could talk about this all day long.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, so just while you were saying that right now, I took a second to breathe down to my lower abdomen. And so I'm now more abundant than I was a second ago. When I was speaking and, having my breath be more out than in. And so that is part of it, right? Is finding that balance in every moment. And most people, it's tough. I mean, people just kick themselves nowadays, our present company included. It's really hard not to be like, oh man, I wish I could meditate and I have time to do this and that and stand on my head and all these other kind of practices that we think we ought to do. And we're poor in this one really vital asset, which is time. And so if we could learn to stop time, if I could be meditating right now while hanging out with you and your delightful listeners, then I'm less tired and need less coffee at lunchtime. I need one less iced tea when I'm going when I'm out to lunch. I'm not as cranky or moody when I get home, and I can make better decisions. And so I like to always leave gas in the tank. And that's a big part of this kind of urban monk equation, is understanding that your burn rate is not just financial, it's energetic, right?
Love that.
And so abundance comes from taking pause and understanding that you can get more done if you can catch your breath and really kind of step in balance. And look, I run a number of companies. I do a lot of stuff. I'm a busy dude. But I come from a tradition where I learned how to stop first. And I got to say, applying those principles has helped me get healthier and wealthier and step into the flow of that abundance, because it helps me have the foresight to make better decisions.
Absolutely. I used to be a spin and a sprayer. It was like, just move all day long, and I realized that just before I do something, if I take a breath and just, what is my intention? How do I want this phone call to go? How do I want this to, how I want to feel? What's the essence that I want to feel before I go into my next stage of my day? Things just flow, and I don't have to be in that spinning, doing way too much to, I'm wasting all that energy and wasting just all my resources, because I'm able to center in myself. Like you said, just taking a breath like that, a belly breath, it fills you up and grounds you so much that it helps even clear your mind to help you move into what you have to move into next. Yeah. It really does make a difference, and it's pretty immediate, right? It's like, wow, I suddenly am thinking differently. I'm feeling better. Things are different. Things are qualifiably different. I can't really put my finger on it, but something changed. Absolutely. So I hope
So I think that's the kind of front-loaded part of my answer. Sorry?
I was going to say, just as we're speaking right now, everybody watching, start to take a breath and really breathe. Instead of that shallow breath that most of us do, that's just up in our chest, really breathe into your belly. Like, really use your diaphragm to take in a very deep breath and feel yourself in your body. Feel yourself in the chair. And just in that moment, connect with the fullness of just even having that breath, just as you're watching this interview. So go ahead, continue.
No, that's it. That's sage wisdom, and that's really kind of the difference, right? That's the winning equation. Is like Alberto Villoldo taught me this once. He said, no, I've learned never to wait for people, right? And I said, what does that mean? He's like, well, if I, get somewhere and the taxi's stuck and I'm having to wait for my cab that I called or my Uber nowadays, I take that as an opportunity to either take some breaths, to, read for myself, to stretch, but to always maximize and utilize my time in a way that's going to help increase my vitality. Because if I have more vitality, then I'm more abundant. If I'm more abundant, then I can be a better conduit for that type of grace through the universe, right? And that's the other kind of side of that equation that I'd love to tease out is it's a lot easier to be in the flow of abundance than, say, selling, AK-47s to ISIS, right? And so there is this real challenge with people who, are working in businesses that aren't necessarily helping the world, and that also takes you out of the flow of abundance. So, I think right livelihood's a big thing. I mean, like I'm doing a whole movie on this piece right now, on conscious capitalism and what it means to vote with your dollars. And man, I got to say, listening to these interviews and sitting with these world leaders, asking them questions, A, makes me a really lucky guy because I get to hang out with cool people. But B, it's like, it's just case after case, example after example. People who decided to step in, step up, do the right thing, and are being rewarded by the universe immensely with millions and millions of dollars, and they're helping the world, and they're making changes in supply chains and all sorts of cool stuff. And so there's this new model for business that's emerging right now. We're in this renaissance that also has to do with not doing a deal with the devil, but just doing things the right way and being in the flow of good money. And the people out there will spend their money on a company or a person who's cool, who's doing the right stuff.
Absolutely. It brings me back to 9 years ago when I quit my corporate job. I was a pharmaceutical rep and I was a pharmaceutical trainer. And I hated what I did, and I didn't feel good about what I did because me personally, if I ever got sick, I'd go to an acupuncturist or an herbalist. I wouldn't take medication. So for me, every time I'm pushing medication, it felt like I'm so out of integrity, but I made great money. And so once I got that decision within me that I create my own abundance, the universe creates my own abundance, and what I truly love doing, what I'm passionate about is helping other people and coaching them. And as soon as I made that decision to go full time, I mean, it was a very short amount of, literally a very short amount of time that I started making as much money, and especially a lot more, than I was in corporate America. Now I love what I do. What I'm doing is in service to people. They're benefiting from it, and I am greatly rewarded. So it's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
and it's hard though. You got to jump into the abyss, right? And that plunge is incredibly scary. But something that it does that I find, and I write about this in the book, is it activates your survivor genes, right? Mm-hmm. Because those survivor genes come from having your back against the wall. And when you put your back against the wall, amazing things happen, creativity happens, resilience gets built into your genome again, and it kind of starts to spring out. I mean, I had a posh medical, I was the CEO of a medical group, I had 3 very busy offices and, good car and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, I hate this. Like, I don't like, I did all this monastic training. I came back thinking I'm going to change medicine, and now I'm stuck in the belly of the beast. And so I had to leave this comfort and jump into the abyss, and I decided to make a movie that was going to put myself out of business because it was, kind of against the establishment medicine cabal, and talking about how it's all about money and sickness and not serving humanity, and that was my sentiment. So that's how, and so I was buttering my bread in the belly of the beast, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I, became a documentary filmmaker. I didn't even know how to make a movie at the time, right? And I've never looked back. I mean, life is pretty cool now, but there was a couple of years in there where you don't know if it's going to work out. But at least you are living a life worth living. At least you're fighting the good fight. At least you're singing your song.
Yes, exactly. So appreciate that. And I'm really happy that you've written this book, Urban Monk, because I think it's going to help a lot of people really understand abundance a lot more and understand exactly the conversation that we're having, to be able to be in that alignment and in that creativity and what your song is, like you're saying, and, to not just trade work for dollars because you have to, because you think that's your only option. And, because that really does come from such a lack and limitation perspective when there's so much, and there's so many, if we just shift our perspective to abundance, there's so many opportunities that we right now can't even begin to conceive in our minds. But as soon as we attune to that abundance, it's like they start showing themselves. So really appreciate that.
And you know, what's interesting is I'm sitting right now on these boards for this movie about conscious capitalism and trying to change the way we spend money to make the world a better place. And, you know, like, okay, well, how are we going to raise capital for this movie? And, you know, it doesn't cost that much money to make a documentary movie. And I'm dealing with these impact investment funds that are sitting on the sideline right now with like $5 billion, $4 billion, $12 billion. They got all this money and they don't even know where to put it because they're trying to identify what kind of conscious capital business that, you know, what qualifies as a conscious capital business so that we can invest in it. And so there's billions and billions of dollars that have already been earmarked for businesses that are doing the right thing, sitting in the sidelines right now. Wow. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm making a movie about this. Why don't I be the poster child? And so I just sat back a little bit and then positioned myself in the flow of this greater abundance. And now all of a sudden it's just like, money's not an object.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you can sit there and think small and be small, or you can elevate and understand the dynamics of abundance and be in the flow of it. And it's something we talk about in Qigong all the time, is this kind of concept of impedance, right? It comes from electrical circuitry, which is, it's not necessarily about more energy. It's about resistance and impedance and taking the impedance out of the channel. So everywhere that I am blocking the flow of this energy is where I am blocking myself from the enormity of the energy that can be flowing through the entire universe through me.
Yes.
And so it's a reduction process. It's about getting rid of blockages more than about adding and layering things on. And once you understand that as a Qigong practitioner, that then applies to everything in life, because it's like, holy crap. I keep thinking more is better, more is the answer. And a lot of times it's about me getting out of my own way. And then this wave of abundance flows through me and I'm living this dream life. And everyone's like, how did you do it? And it had a lot more to do with letting go than I thought.
Yeah, getting out of your own way. Yeah, absolutely. So I know you have some gifts to give because your book is coming out tomorrow. So tell everybody what gifts, and we're going to have a link underneath the video. So you just click the link below and you can get all the beautiful gifts from this amazing doctor. So you want to share?
Cool. And what I realized was that the book is something that I want people to treasure. But I can teach people how to live and breathe and all of these wonderful things that I'd learned. So what I did is I put together this 7-day resource kit, this basically essentials kit that has a different item every day, whether it's food, exercise, stress, with a little bit of a lesson, plus meditation tracks, plus Tai Chi videos, plus detox recipes, plus all sorts of goodies that I've done over at the Urban Monk, well.org, where I live. And so that is my gift to your listeners is,
Sweet.
Hey, here's a 7-day reboot, and that is what I'm giving to you, because that's what's going to help jumpstart you and get you into a life of abundance. That's what's going to jumpstart you and help you kind of feel the energy flowing and coursing in your veins, and then that energy will drive you into just better decisions and more abundance. And I've seen it time and again. And like I said, I'm interviewing these amazing billionaires that are just so generous and gracious and full of love. And it's because they live there, right? They're not these greedy top hat wearing, coal tycoons. That's the old vision of abundance. The new vision is people that are part of a bigger, greater picture that are supportive of a future that we can all be proud of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for your gifts. So you guys, let me know what you're taking away from this interview. It was full of just lots of juicy nuggets and information and expansion, and just let me know what you're taking away, what you personally got out of this time and space, and what you're going to apply in your own life, even if it's just the breath. Let's continue the conversation. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll talk to you next week. So as always, the best discussions happen after the episode at ChristyWhitman.com, where you can join my community, which I call my family. You'll receive free teleseminars, webinars, ebooks, videos, and much more just by being part of the community. Did you like this video? Then subscribe and share it with everybody you know.
Check out these other related videos to help you get inspired and informed.